Did y'all just suddenly see the sun go away? What's up, everyone? So today we're going to go over something that's going to be really hard for me to talk about, and that's me letting go of this guitar. This is an Ibanez RGD71AL. This guitar was the second 7-string that I've ever bought. The first one being the Solar that I had also sold, but this one I felt was the most fitting to my playstyle at the time. This is when I was getting into bands like After the Burial, more sort of progressive bands, and I bought this guitar thinking, you know, that's going to get me there because they play Ibanez guitars there too, and I figured this was going to be the guitar for me. A year later, even after making the video where I said that I was never going to sell this guitar, a year later I have changed my mind, and I can go over the reasons why. There are 3 big reasons, but I want to go over why I still think this guitar is great for the progressive modern player. This guitar has a very thin neck. This neck is nothing like any of the guitars I have that you see here. This has the thinnest neck of all of them. And while I think it doesn't suit me quite as well as some of these other guitars, I think for the player who really wants to move fast on a fretboard, Ibanez is definitely the ticket for that. The upper fret axis is so good. The pickups sound amazing, and it has locking tuners, and it's just really, really good guitar all around. If you like the more expensive look too of having kind of this modern wood carve here with the veneer, I think this is just a great guitar for you. My opinion on this being a good guitar still doesn't change. As someone who came from pop punk, thrash, some symphonic metal, this was kind of the guitar that I was like, okay, it's going to push me to the next genre. And in some ways it does. However, I've definitely felt like I've just fallen out of love with this guitar. Oh, fuck. And it's still a great guitar for the things that I described, the more modern metal genres and whatnot. This guitar helped me find out a lot about my preferences with the type of guitar that I want to play. I found out that I love DiMarzio pickups. I have DiMarzios in 2 of my other guitars now. They are great. They are just by far over the Seymour Duncans and the Fishmans that I even have in my FGN. I think that the DiMarzios are just for me. They're passive pickups. They do a very good job. They have a lot of presence to their tone, and that's kind of what I want. That's my inclination for a guitar tone. I realized how much I love locking tuners, and I just need to install locking tuners on all my guitars. I realized how much I love not having a tone knob, and the fact that this is just literally the simplest design of having just a volume and a switch for the pickups. You can't go wrong with that. So let's get into the looks though. The first reason why I don't want to keep this guitar is the looks. I think most people have an idea of the aesthetic that they want to go with guitars. Some people liked all blacked out guitars. Some people like really colorful guitars. I thought that this was going to be for me. I thought that this was the kind of player I was going to evolve into. The sort of modern progressive player. I do jam to some of the modern metal stuff like After the Burial or Wage War, but I take this guitar out and I start playing something like Rise Against or something more pop punk like Sum 41, and it just doesn't feel right. And I know this is completely superficial, but hear me out. I feel like everyone has an aesthetic that they would try to go for the guitar of their choice, and I think this aesthetic has just not grown well with me as a player. I want something more colorful. I want something a little less spiky, pointy, and I'm not too big into the pointy stuff anymore with guitars. I know that's heresy considering I'm playing metal, but the pointy just isn't doing it for me anymore. But don't get me wrong, this shape is very comfortable. Ergonomically, I think it works really, really well for a lot of players. It's no longer me. The second reason why I'm letting this guitar go is a pretty big reason. And it's because I bought this guitar secondhand. And the problem with that is the previous owner had attempted to do their own refret of a guitar. And I know that it's not uncommon to see that. However, the frets came with absolutely flat tops. So usually a fret has like a very smooth, I think they call it a crown, but it has a smooth sort of curve to it. These frets came flat. So I was getting buzzing everywhere. I had to take it to a tech to get it completely leveled. It was a nightmare. And even after that, what ended up happening was at the 13th or 14th fret, I was getting buzzing on the high E string. So I had fixed it now. Obviously, you can hear that it's fixed. Definitely usable now. It moved the issue actually over to the 15th fret. And you can actually kind of hear that right now. You can hear how it like harmonically breaks up when I pick it. You hear that like extra bit of harmonicness to it. It's very strange. And we got that reduced quite a bit from what it was already. And then the issue surfaced up again on the 17th fret. And I'm not picking very hard either. And I like to stress, this has nothing to do with it being an Ibanez. This has nothing to do with this particular guitar model. This has everything to do with a very negligent previous owner. And even taking it to 2 guitar techs to try to resolve it, the consensus that both techs had are this guitar just needs a refret. The way that, however they did the frets before, there could be some amount of fret sprout or some amount of like lifting of the frets. There's so many factors that could cause that issue that it would just be easier and less time consuming to just refret the guitar. And the problem I had there was I had already spent a lot of time and money into trying to get those specific issues done. But at the end of the day, I still have to spend more money to get it refret. And I had told myself if I'm keeping a guitar that I need to refret, I'm getting stainless steel frets. And this is going to be really expensive and probably even worth more than the value of this guitar at that point. The last reason why I'm not connecting with this guitar anymore is actually not because of this guitar, but it's because of one of the guitars on this stand right here. This is an FGN Iliad 7. FGN, if y'all don't know, is a guitar brand by the company Fujigen from Japan. And Fujigen makes the Japanese Ibanez Prestige models. When I was looking for a replacement for my Ibanez, I was actually thinking to myself, maybe I'll look for Prestige. And maybe I want to get into something more like a telly body shape, because I actually had seen some of my favorite guitarists play telly body shapes, and I was like, you know, I kind of want to get into that. I had found out about this FGN Iliad, and it was a game changer for me. This guitar had everything I loved about the Ibanez, just made at a much higher quality, and just it felt much, much better to play for me. I hate to say that I'm replacing the Ibanez, but this guitar definitely has replaced my Ibanez in a lot of ways. Coming back to a more rounded neck, I just realized that this was for me. Like, I definitely prefer it over the really flat neck. We've got a lot of the same specs here, go to locking tuners. Instead of a passive, we have Fishmans in this. I actually still do think that the DiMarzios in the Ibanez sound better than the Fishmans here. And honestly, it's so close in the passive voicing to that DiMarzio that this guitar just became the one I picked up more than the Ibanez. This guitar is also a little bit lighter, which is nice because I have spine issues. And I just think this fits me more. I look at the VODs after a Twitch stream, I see this guitar in my hands, and I say to myself, this is the guitar for me. This is the one that looks like it fits on me the most out of all the guitars I own. And this guitar actually is just the reason why the Ibanez has become less used over the months that I've been playing this guitar. These 3 reasons as to why that Ibanez is no longer being used at all in my room here it's sad. It's sad to think about, but that's just kind of the reality of it, is that sometimes as a player you move on and some of the things that you thought were right for you before turn out to have changed, and that is kind of the unfortunate reality of this. So I am definitely going to miss this guitar though. It's a huge step that I have to take to sell this. However, out of sight, out of mind, these fret issues are just haunting me, as every time I look at this guitar, I just think about those fret issues, and I can't be spending money on this when there are other pieces of gear that I think are more worth my time to be spending money on right now. It's still great. I hope it goes to an owner that wants to put the time into making the neck work for them, because this guitar does sound amazing, and I very much want to stress that this is still a really, really awesome guitar. I know there are folks out there who see this guitar on like Bradley Hall's channel and just see Bradley shred on it, and you know, that's for them, and I hope it makes it into the hands of someone who is interested in that style of guitar play. Let me know in the comments below if you had a guitar that you didn't want to let go of, but you had to for whatever reason. Yeah, or if you think it's a really dumb idea that I'm letting go of this guitar. That could be true as well. A lot of this was also inspired by seeing videos that Kyle Bull has made of letting go of amplifiers that he loves, and it's less to do with the fact that it's a bad piece of gear. It has more to do with the fact that I already have other pieces of gear that are doing the same thing, and this one's just being used less now. So anyway, that's gonna do it for me. Thank you all so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons. I'll be back with more videos on the gear I have in this room and more gear to come. Thank you so much. Stay safe. Take care.